Here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fetch Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I am your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Brewer.
Hey, everybody.
Alrighty, so how's it going, Brewer? I'm glad we're recording today, man. It's just you and I. How's it been, man? How's it been?
Not gonna lie, Guy, things are pretty rough right now.
Oh, what? Dude, I'm sorry. Like, what's going on? Tell me.
We gotta prep, man. The rampage is coming.
The Rampage?
Yeah, soon Purple Garfield and a bunch of other freaks of nature, those monsters, are gonna jump Kimura Village.
Oh my god, they are! Wait. Brewer, I know the solution to that problem.
What's that?
I think we gotta grab our hammers, our swords, and our wire bugs.
Sounds good to me. Let's rise to the challenge and hunt some monsters.
Hell yeah. That's the quest hunt start noise.
Yeah. But with that, everybody, today's topic is Monster Hunter Rise, the Monster Hunter entry for the Nintendo Switch. Well, originally Nintendo Switch, but later released to PC and other consoles. But that is our topic for today. We're going to talk about its combat, its great monsters, its DLC Sunbreak, and just why we love the game so much, but also maybe some of why we don't love the game so much. All of that and more in today's episode of Fetch Quest.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I must say, I'm very excited to talk about Monster Hunter Rise. This is the second Monster Hunter game that I have ever played, and I have put a lot of time into this game. I have put over 300 hours into it, because it's really fucking good. What can I say?
Oh man, really? You put 300 hours into it and it's really good? I can't say shit. I put about like just the same amount of time.
Not literally. No.
Yeah.
I seriously love Monster Hunter.
I do have good memories of this game solely for the reason this is the first Monster Hunter game I played together with you since for Ultimate and Generation. Yeah, for Ultimate and Generations I played by myself, and then I played Rise with, well, at least starting in Sunbreak I played with you.
Yeah. No, I remember. Cause yeah, it was Sunbreak that we started. We were, it was when Sunbreak, like, the DLC audience, that's when it released. I remember we were both like, holy shit, I am so excited, we should play together. And then like we did most of the main story together and pretty much all of the post game together, which is like where the main content is.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while for us to get to the post game, but I'm mostly equating that to just the not so good release schedule of like having to wait months for a single variant.
Yeah, which we'll talk about later today, but pretty much, let's talk about Monster Hunter Rise. And oh god, this is such a good fucking game.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh dude, I have such good memories with it. That and just, Monster Hunter is always a great game, but like Rise in particular, I really love. I felt like it did a lot of good for the series. It's a very different game than like World is, which is why I think like there is such a big divide in the Monster Hunter community between it and World. But I think both games stand like in their own merits as just fantastic video games.
I completely agree. The thing is that okay, let me set this context first. Monster Hunter Rise is the second fifth gen Monster Hunter game. And what I mean by generations is that usually when a mainline Monster Hunter game releases, people will refer to that as the start of a new generation, meaning that like there's a ton of mechanic changes and like a lot of like direction changes in terms of like this game's generation compared to the last one. And the first Gen 5 game was Monster Hunter World, and then it being followed by Monster Hunter Rise. So, if y'all don't know, Monster Hunter Rise not only is the highest-selling Monster Hunter game in the series, it is Capcom's highest-selling game of all time. So there was a lot riding on. So what?
I thought World outsold it.
No, did I say Monster Hunter World?
Oh, okay. I thought you said Rise.
No. It's funny, because Rise is actually the second highest-selling Capcom game ever.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because, like, it's Monster Hunter, but at the same time, like, it was originally a Switch exclusive, so, like, you're not selling to as many people as, like, having it on PC, PS4, or Xbox. Well, at the time, PS4 and Xbox, but now PS5, all that good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about Monster Hunter Rise is that it had a lot of expectations behind it because a lot of new Monster Hunter players started with World, and they were like, "Oh hell yeah, new series entry, let's fucking go!" I just got into it and I'm really excited. Let's see what it has in store for us. And so Monster Hunter Rise came out and surprisingly had a lot of mixed fan reception for a good amount of reason in the beginning, but I feel like as the game went on, it became less justified. And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. I think first let's just talk about what Monster Hunter is a little bit. Just a quick little overview for people who don't know this. So, as the title suggests, in Monster Hunter Rise and any other Monster Hunter game, you hunt monsters. I know, very shocking. But to
Crazy.
do this, usually you have a couple tools. One is usually a little feline friend called a palico that's going to support you through your quest. You got some armor that you made from ripping scales off of random dragons. And then you have a bunch of weapons that you made from ripping fur off of some monkeys. So, yeah, Monster Hunter.
It's peak. Trust.
It's a very simple concept, but they do a lot to make it complex, and they go very far with it to make
They
it
do.
entertaining.
And that's the thing about Monster Hunter. It's very easy to get to understand what the concept is, but everything about it is complex, whether it's the weapon diversity, the monsters, the environment. There's a lot that goes into just a single hunt, and because of that complexity, it makes the replayability of the game and just the content overall just very worth it because you're trying to accomplish the same goal throughout your entire play sessions of oh, get better materials, make a better gear, make better builds. However, the amount of like stuff you can do in the game is so varied and so good in quality that you will be doing this for like hundreds of hours straight and still want more because it's just that fucking good.
Yeah, a good Monster Hunter session can literally be sitting down, hunting like the same two monsters for a couple hours, and be like, damn, that was a lot of fun. And look, I got the Rathalos ruby I needed. Let's go.
No, literally. And a lot of people like have been turned off by the idea that it's a grind game, but then you actually play it and you're like, wow, this is like the best grind game I've ever played. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, because the biggest thing is its combat is so satisfying along with the monsters you fight. Because you have
Oh yeah.
a wide variety of weapons to use, and you have a lot of different ways to use them. So there's always going to be a play style for you, no matter who you are. There's going to be one weapon that sticks at you as like, yeah, I fuck with this. I can run this shit.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the weapons now. You have like a basic weapon like the sword and shield, which sounds basic on paper, but actually it's like a very fast flurry weapon that equals offense and defense. You have the charge blade, which is very reliant on resource management to do high amounts of damage and can use different modes for different playstyles. You have my main weapon, which is called the longsword, which focuses a lot on evasion and offense, but a lack of defense. You have the hammer, which is what Brewer plays, that focuses on
Oh
knocking the
yeah.
monster out with high damage. There's so much variety for each weapon that no matter what, there is something that will be catered to your playstyle.
Yeah, there are some weapons that may be a little more tricky to use, especially for new players, like Charge Blade, than some of the ranged weapons, like, let's say, Heavy Bowgun. But even then, there's a lot of weapons that are just very easy to pick up and play too, like Hammer, then Longsword. But, they also have high skill ceilings too, so, like, you can use a hammer, but another person using a hammer may use it infinitely better than you. That, and you can also change up a lot of different skills on it to where you have your own play style. Like your combo may be a little faster but does less damage, or also maybe your hammer even has a counter while their hammer doesn't. You have a lot of options in this game, and that's what makes it so great. It makes it really replayable because you have so many different ways you can approach the game.
Oh, I completely agree. And that's actually something I want to talk about with Rise and how it actually has some of the most amount of moveset variety in the series. And what do I mean by this? Well, Rise actually gives you the option to choose what moves are on your weapon through like something called the what was it like the
The scroll
scrolls?
system.
Yeah, the scroll system, which gets expanded upon in Sunbreak. But
Yeah,
essentially, the
that
idea
that
is
that and
that
wire bug attacks as well.
yes, yes, yes. there are normal attacks that you do, which they're a part of the base moveset that doesn't require like any like special inputs that usually they might, but like usually they don't really require a resource unless it's like weapon specific. Then you
Yeah,
have the wire bug attacks, which they cost something called wire bugs. They're the main resource of the main combat in Rise, where they can either be used for mobility or for high damage moves. But the thing is that the game rewards you for using these wire bugs correctly and efficiently, because if you run out of wire bugs and put yourself in a pinch, you are in a very bad spot.
yeah, because again, they're used for mobility, so a lot of times, like, you want to use them just to quickly get away, so you maybe have a chance to heal. That, or offensively, they're very good, but if you, like, maybe use too many offensive ones in a row, and then you need to get out of a tricky spot, then you may just faint because you didn't have a wire bug to save yourself. That, or even a defensive one as well for, like, a counter attack.
Yeah, exactly. There's the wire bugs are actually at first they were actually pretty contentious with the community, because a lot of people thought that a mechanic known as wirefall, which if you get knocked down by a monster, you can choose to spend a wire bug to do something called a wirefall, which will reduce the amount of end lag on your get up. And people thought because of this mechanic there was no risk reward, and thought that the game was so much easier compared to other titles in the franchise, that it actually like caused a very big divide among Rise enjoyers and New World players. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say, like, all the people who were complaining about that are just dead wrong, because, like, it's still very similar to what we already had when you get knocked down and, like, using a quicker get up. Because when you get knocked down in Monster Hunter, you have a decent amount of invincibility frames, and usually you'll want to get up as soon as you can so you can get back into the fight, so you can heal that, or, you know, so you can get back to fighting the monster. But a lot of times it may be good to, like, wait and not get up as soon as possible, because if the monster's doing some big crazy combo attack, then those invincibility frames from staying down longer could save you. And where I'm leading my point into with Wirefall is really good. Like, it can get you out of some tricky situations, move you quickly out of the way so you can go heal in a safe spot. But at the same time, it removes those invincibility frames. So I've seen so many new players just, like, spam Wirefall, and then they directly go into a monster's attack right after taking a big hit, and then they immediately faint right afterwards. Like, because Rise, while I do think Rise is the easiest game in, like, the series in general, like, it definitely does get tricky down in Sunbreak. But that, and also, it's still a Monster Hunter game. If you don't take the hunt seriously, you're gonna get fucked up. Like, there's no way around it. You're getting messed up by the monsters.
That is true. They especially, I feel like they took that criticism to heart with the difficulty in terms of base Rise. So like they kind of went fucking crazy with the difficulty in Sunbreak, the DLC.
Yeah, Base Rise and Sunbreak are very different games.
Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk a little bit more about the combat before getting into that? Because frankly, I have a few more things about the combat I want to talk about that I think are just fantastic.
Yeah, well, I think we should get more into we can save that for later, because I like to get more into combat, that and the aspect that makes the combat so fun in the first place, the monsters.
So true.
Oh yeah.
I love the monsters. So, true to the title of the name, you fight monsters. Who would have thought?
And these are some tricky monsters that have a load of weapons at their arsenal. Some of them are literally just B-59 bombers that will crash land into you. Some of them can turn invisible, steal your potions, and poison you. Other ones literally just have COVID, and you get afflicted with COVID. Yeah, gotta love Gormagala.
Okay, he's not even joking about that. Like, all of those are, we obviously, the shitpost aside, he's actually pretty accurate on most of those monsters, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, that, or you have, like, Goku Monkey. Yeah, Rajang. It's literally Goku. I'm not even kidding about that.
It is actually a Dragon Ball reference, which I think is amazing.
The monkey literally goes Super Saiyan on you and does a Kami Kami Ha. The only difference is it's just a giant beam of electricity that comes out of its mouth. Either way, though,
Oh
just
yeah,
like
you're right.
Goku, it will fucking pummel you.
Into
yeah,
a belligerent.
yeah. Either way, though, there's a lot of variety in the monsters and the types of monsters you fight and the type of strategies you'll have to take against those monsters. Which, when you have really complex weapons, if you have just really simple monsters or enemies, then you aren't going to be able to be doing a lot with them. Just because why use a complicated strategy when you have just a simple monster? But the monsters in Monster Hunter are just, they're so well designed and thought out. Like, it takes so much time to make them just feel like a real part of the world, make them feel like natural living beings, even with fantastical elements about them. And at the same time, too, they're just great bosses as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Something that Monster Hunter does fantastically is just knowing how to design the monsters around the system mechanics of the time. So a good example of this is Rajang in Monster Hunter Rise. He's personally one of my favorite monsters in the series.
Oh yeah, same
Um,
here.
he in Gen 5, referring to Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Rise, actually received a crap ton of moves and made him faster compared to a lot of the old gen games to to account for how fast the hunters can act now. And because of that, they gave him new AI to know how to deal with like some hunter mechanics. Rajang actually has a few checkmate moves in Monster Hunter Rise where if you don't wirefall in a certain position, or if you wirefall too early during like a combo of his, he will catch you, and that goes for a lot of the other monsters, especially late game monsters in this game. They know how to play around the hunter's strengths and how to like reward the hunter for doing something really smart. And I love Monster Hunter for that reason. But
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I love Monster Hunter.
yeah, that, and I love too with Monster Hunter how like they always try to justify why you're fighting a monster or why it's even in that area. Like another change they did for a monster was like giving an old one a variant to make it even appear. So there was a monster called Valstrax in Monster Hunter Generations. It's literally a jet. Like, it's a dragon that's a jet. It zooms around and it will dive bomb into you at like Mach 20. Like, circle you down and just dive into you. You have to dive away from that shit. The thing is, though, Valstrax, or at least normal Valstrax, doesn't really have a reason to show up too much. Story-wise in Generations, it makes sense why you fight it, but it's kind of a monster that doesn't really try to start too much shit. So that's why there's the variant Crimson Glow Valstrax, which is a very much more violent variant of Valstrax, that because of the ecology that it grew up in, is just a much more violent creature. So now you have to fight that much more violent version of Valstrax, which is a really fun fight, but also I love the lore reason as well. They didn't just stick the monster in there without not thinking of like lore wise why it worked. They made a necessary change that was also logical and made sense for what the series has been doing for years and decades.
Yeah, that's something about Monster Hunter that they do very well, is that they try to give a biological and scientific reason as to why these creatures exist. Like, let's say the Rathalos, the mascot of the series, it's a fire-wielding monster, and the reason why it can breathe fire, well, obviously it has a fucking organ sac that can make it breathe fire, of course. It has no
Oh yeah.
magic. There literally is no magic in Monster Hunter. Everything,
Yeah.
like, feels realistic, and I love that.
Yeah, there's a couple of monsters that like have some like, or what seem like magical elements to them, but that's usually in very rare cases, and it's for very good reasons that do make sense. Usually with just elder dragons that are supposed to be otherworldly. Oh yeah, I really like the flagship for Base Rise as well, Magna Malo, like with its Hellfire as well, and just it's like leading the rampage. Like, dude, it was such a cool fight. Like, it was such a vicious monster, especially in that demo where it was like super buff.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that demo where God, it was like really hard to defeat and shit, which they usually do for the demo for any Monster Hunter game. But God, that shit was so much
Dude,
fun.
I love the tradition of the Monster Hunter demos, letting you fight the flagship, but it's like beefed up on steroids. You have shit gear, and you have like 15 minutes to kill a god.
It's so sick.
It's my favorite tradition.
Um, I've got to say, Brewer, what is your favorite monster in Monster Hunter Rise? I have a very clear one, but I will gush about it after you say yours.
Got it. It's so hard for me to choose. So like I have a couple different categories. So like for returning monsters, Shigaru Magala and the beefed up version of it, Risen Shigaru Magala, are definitely like my favorite returning monster. Cause like I grew up before Ultimate and I'm fucking shameless. So like I loved that fight as a kid and it was so amazing to see like an HD now on like a console. It was so great. I loved it. Another returning one from a game I didn't play. Well, I did fight this monster in Generations, but like Amatsu, I really love that monster fight, especially because like with the mechanic they added, which we'll talk about in a bit, Wyvern riding, where you can hop on a monster and control its actions and fight with it. They added a special interaction, so Amatsu in lore, like it drove off Zinogre from its land, which is why Zinogre was the flagship of its original game, and why the villagers thought it was causing issues because it came to wreak havoc. Turns out Amatsu was the real reason all behind it. So you actually have Zinogre join the fight, and actually you get to have it fight with you in the game. So like, I really love that monster because like it's a really cool endgame monster we haven't seen in a while. It fit the lore. That, and they had a lot of really cool callbacks, especially with like the music that they put into being from its original game. God, and as for the new monsters as well, like Malzeno, and specifically its variant Primordial Malzeno, which we will talk about a little later some more. Dude, that was such a chaotic and crazy fight, but it was so much fun with how like just vicious that monster was.
Dude, oh my god, you were picking such good fights. But that's the thing about this game, is that all fights are good fights, except for Basarios. I fucking hate that fight.
Yeah, no, Bizarrios has never really been a fan favorite. I kind of wish they would just do Gravios, because like I actually like that monster and never really minded it too much. But Bizarrios is like related to it, but it's like much lamer. You know, it doesn't really do anything.
That's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
besides a couple of like basic ones, which I mean, you gotta have a couple of stinkers when you have a cast this big. Like I love almost all the monsters in this game. Like there's very rare fights that I don't like, other than Pyrorachna Kadaki. But like, dude, they did such a good job with the monsters in this game. They had a lot of variety compared to World. They got really creative with some of the designs as well. And then also they just were very well designed fights as well for the most part.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I
Yeah,
know you
I
have
didn't
some
get a chance to ask you
thoughts.
what are some of your favorites, guy?
Oh god, where do I begin? My definitive favorite from Rise has got to be Gormagala. I have never played Monster Hunter 4 or 4 Ultimate, which is
Cap
unfortunate because
Capcom,
holy fuck I missed
please
out.
re-release it.
Please, I will pay so much money for it.
Yeah, Capcom, please just re-release your fucking games. For the love of God. You do such a good job with it, except for Monster Hunter, for some reason.
But no, dude, fucking Gormagala is definitely my number one. I love the frenzy mechanic and how they brought it back into Rise. I love how his armor gives you frenzy and it affects the gameplay. I fucking
Oh
love
yeah.
how I love his wing attacks. I love his transformation. I love the lore behind him. How he's a mystery. His classification is of a mystery dragon. But once it like matures and grows up, it will actually become an elder dragon, being Shigaru Magala, which is also one of my favorite fights. Which takes the frenzy mechanic and ramps it up to 11.
Yeah.
What else?
It
We got Malzeno, which is literally the Morbius dragon. Like
the
it will
Jared Leto dragon.
the Jared Leto dragon that will suck you off mid-fight. I'm not even
Dude,
kidding about that. It actually will
you
do
think there's
that.
like a mod for like Jared Leto over Malzeno? Like that'd be scary as fuck. Like Malzeno can teleport. Imagine Jared Leto teleporting behind you and then stabbing you with its tail.
Oh, fuck that, man. I'd be scared as fuck.
That would be scary.
But no, there's a lot of good fights. Magnum Malo is also one to bring up. It's the flagship of base game that is based off of samurai and fights using its sword like a samurai, and will use it to using it as like thrust moves and I don't know. It just has a lot of fun like cool sword play, which I think is sick as fuck. You have who else? You have Nargacuga, which I think is just a fun, fast fight, especially for this game, where arguably it's the fastest the series has been in total. You have let's see, Rajang, of course, fucking love Rajang, giant monkey, he's Goku. Ooh, yeah, yeah. You have Crimson Glow Valstrax, which I think it's literally a dragon that's a jet engine or has a jet engine, so it goes fast as fuck, and I love it. But yeah, no,
Oh
this is
yeah.
just some of my favorites, and the monster variety in terms of like what they can do and what they are with like their mechanics, I think is just so sick.
Yeah, even like monsters that I don't like too much are still really fun fights. Like Thunder Serpent Narwa and it like the Allmother Narwa, like I don't really like them too much, but I still had a really fun time doing their fights the first couple of times. Like I still
Oh
think
yeah,
they're good fights. I just don't really like their designs the most, and some of their lore. I don't know. They're weird.
it'd be like that. I
Yeah,
get what you mean though.
yeah.
Those are the final.
We'll talk about another reason why I don't like them later with Rise's issues, especially with its COVID release schedule.
Oh god, yeah, that is a yikers moment. We could probably talk about that now, considering we're talking about monsters, and that'll fit into like release schedule with the monsters.
Yeah, so Rise released in a in basically COVID era. You know, a lot of people locked up, can't do jack shit. Or wait, no, I think it was released afterwards.
It
But
was released in March of 2021, so it was released a year after COVID hit America.
yeah, so a lot of the development for Rise was very much impacted by that. Because when the game first released, the final boss was not the final boss. Because the final boss was just not actually in the game yet, like literally not programmed. Because of story reasons, you at the end fight Thunder Serpent Narwa, and then it just kind of falls into a hole, and then it's like, oh man, what happened to that big ass dragon? That's crazy. Then they're celebrating, and then they're like, oh man, I hope nothing bad happens. And then what do you know, like a couple months later after the game came out, they put a patch in, and then Serpent Narwa, which we were thinking would have birthed a new crazy cool monster, just got like a powered up version called the All Mother. So like that, yeah, that was kind of lame. It kind of felt like they split up that final fight just because of resources.
Wait, I thought it was Ibushi that was initially teased in like the base version of Rise, and then we got to fight Narwa in
No. So Ibushi showed up earlier in the game through the rampages that was mentioning its queen, which was Narwa. Narwa showed up at the end of like the original base Rise, like the unpatched version. And then after that, after people waited a couple months to get to where they updated the game to finally finish the story, uh Thunder Serpent Narwa was like in this cavern that it fell into the big hole. Ibushi joined it there, and then during the fight, the alt Narwa absorbed Ibushi and became the All Mother, which was really weird considering they were mostly hinting at like just something new being born. So like having Ibushi just combined like that, I don't know, man. It just wasn't great.
You're telling me you wanted them to have sex?
Yes. I mean, hey,
Crazy.
we fought the final boss of World was literally a baby, so I think we could have fought another baby.
Spoilers.
I'm not saying what the baby is. And we're already kind of spoiling Rise.
It's okay.
Though, I mean, I don't think that's a super important considering like how long these games have been out. That, and also you don't play Monster Hunter for the story.
You play for the story, you're fake. You're actually just fake.
Yeah, I mean, there's some characters you'll like. Because, my tag is Minoto devotee for a reason in Rise. But
Oh god, that is
it-
so funny.
yeah, it is pretty funny. What can I say? I like the hot Asian twins.
Fair enough,
But
man. I don't blame you.
yeah, but beyond that, like the actual story itself, I'm like, yeah, you're all right. Just let me fight the cool dragon with a sword.
Yeah, no,
Let me use a hammer to kill this god.
I was gonna say that like the story is never really the focus of Monster Hunter games because like they put just so much time into the combat and they kind of give you bare explanations to why you're fighting monsters. They just kind of want to throw you in the action and be like, here you go, this is yours. Now you go and do what you must do. Hunt monsters.
Yeah, I mean they're not terrible stories. Like I mean, okay, some of them are, but like they're kind of mostly just there to like give you a reason to fight. Like I like a lot of the lore in the series, and then also some of the stories are pretty good. Like I really enjoyed Four Ultimate's story, but even then, yeah, that it doesn't hold a candle to oh my god, this gigantic fucking snake is trying to kill me.
No,
You
I
know,
get you.
fun stuff.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. And that's fine with me, honestly, because honestly, could not give a fuck. Because Monster Hunter is just peak. They just want to throw you
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
But
but beyond that though, the story still should have been finished for the game before it released. Like Rise definitely should have been delayed. The difference is, though, unlike other unfinished games that were released, you could still get like 60 hours and more out of it. Like it was still really fun for what was there at the time. But like again, the story literally was not finished, and they kept doing small like free updates, which was more so just them finishing the game to add new monsters in.
yeah, and I'm gonna be entirely honest. I wasn't jiving with the original Rise all too much when it first released, and that's solely because of their really shitty release schedule. Like the post game content for that game was releasing like as the game was finishing up. Because, like you said, it should have been delayed because it unfortunately just wasn't finished, and I hate that it wasn't because the end product that we got as of right now is so good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
honestly,
again, base Rise and then Rise with this DLC Sunbreak just feel like very just like completely different games sometimes. Especially like the end game stuff we got for Rise was like a lot of Apex monsters, which they completely phased out of the DLC for the most part, along with the Rampage quest that we haven't even mentioned. Just in favor of like doing new stuff in Sunbreak, which, you know, I'm kind of glad they did.
yeah, no, that is something to talk about. One of the main mechanics of Monster Hunter Rise was the implementation of rampages, where you would fend off against dozens upon dozens of monsters to eventually drive them off from Kimura Village, which is like the main base of the game. I thought it was a lot of fun. Apparently, other people didn't, and I think they're fake for that because Capcom actually did not add them back in for their DLC Sunbreak.
Yeah, it's weird they didn't do it in like any capacity at all. Like I get lore wise for Elgato, the location of the DLC, it didn't make sense for the rampages to be happening there. But like you're telling me at the end of the DLC we couldn't have gone back to Kimura? Like you just can already. It's like you couldn't have gone back there and there would have been like new updated rampage quest. Like they weren't the most fun thing in the world. There were times that they were a bit tedious and grindy, but still it felt weird that they were completely left in dust to that. And something a bit more controversial, the Apex monsters. So the Apex monsters are special variants of a couple of normal monsters like Zenogre, Rathalos, Rathian, a couple others that are like super powered up and steroid boosted versions of the monster that also have like a couple special gimmicks as well. The thing is though, with these monsters, similar to the other Switch release, Generations Ultimate, they kind of just felt like copy-pasted versions of the deviant monsters in Generations Ultimate, but like way worse. Because while they were fun fights once, you didn't get special materials to make new armor and weapons from them. They all just like went into a special rampage weapon tree, but it had like no special armor. So you didn't really have reasons to fight them a bunch of times other than just, okay, that was a fun fight, I guess. That, and they were tied exclusively to the rampages when they were first released. They had quests later on, but them already just not having a lot of original ideas, because when I say they are copy-pasted versions of the Deviants and Generations, I am not lying on that. Like, I play Generations Ultimate. They are like literally the same monsters, but like their gimmicks are turned down slightly to make them a bit more bearable, or to make them a bit easier.
That seems to be the... I haven't played Generations Ultimate, but that seems kind of be the consensus with that, is they're just copy-pasted, but they are literally just called the, they're just called under a different name to like make sense of the lore.
Yeah, Apex Rathalos is Dread King Rathalos. Apex Diablos is Bloodbath Diablos. And then Apex Zenogre is Thunderlord Zenogre. Just all of them just worse, though, because they didn't have the special gimmicks that made them so fun in Generations Ultimate.
Wait,
and that made me want to throw my controller against the wall. Yeah, no, dude, Thunderlord Zenogre is raw. It has gold and lightning.
Why the fuck would they ever get rid of that? What the hell?
Because none of the Deviants have returned. Well, again, I put that in quotation marks, because again, the Apexes are that, like, the Apex Zenogre is Thunderlord Zenogre, but its gimmick is turned down that, and it's like, it has a different coat of paint, in all honesty.
Dude, that sucks, because I would love to fight that, actually. Holy shit.
Maybe we shall one day. Generations is still a fantastic game, which all of you should go play, but probably not as your first Monster Hunter game, because you will suffer.
Monster Hunter Pro here, telling you should wait a little bit, because Monster Hunter Wilds will be releasing soon, but that's for a different time.
Yeah, different time.
But yeah, no, that actually, I see like why people were complaining about that, and why they didn't really return to it in the DLC, but it's also just like, they had something there that they could have made better, but they just chose not to, which I was a little sad about, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like, I kind of wish the Apexes maybe, like, they didn't have to make new ones, but like, at least give them proper quest. And Sunbreak, the DLC, like, you can fight them through some special anomaly quest, but you can never like just do a normal quest for them. That, and like, just give them some special armor and weapons at that point. Like, it would add to the end game, because like the monsters are in the game, they just didn't make new beefier versions of them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No,
I don't know, and it's weird. It's weird.
We're not game dev, so obviously we don't know how hard it is to like implement all that. But we just find it disappointing.
Yeah.
But
well, again, I think that was mostly just an issue with like Base Rise and its release schedule, because again, story ending was missing. The hunter rank cap, you couldn't even unlock it, so there wasn't really a reason to grind in the game, because that's been like every Monster Hunter game. After you beat the main story, your hunter rank can just infinitely increase with more monsters that you hunt. That wasn't in the game originally. Until you get to hunter rank
999, which is the cap.
Yeah. And Base Rise, before the patch, it was hunter rank 7, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you were basically just, you kept playing to make new armor sets and just have fun with the game until they patched it.
That's just sad.
Like, yeah, it is sad, because like that's about the only complaints I have with Rise. It's just a lot of aspects of it just feeling unfinished, because they literally are.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. But hey, we may be doom and gloom now, but wait. I think Capcom, like, near the end of 2021, decided, we're gonna lock the fuck in. We're gonna do something really awesome. Like, and it's something that they definitely haven't done before for the previous games, so it definitely wasn't predictable, and, you know, seen from literally anyone, and it wasn't predictable, but they released a DLC for the game. What? Oh my glob.
They made an updated expansion for the game? They've never done that for Monster Hunter.
Nah, never.
Never. Not once.
Ever. It's not
They
like
would
it's,
never
you know,
do that.
it's definitely not like a part of their business strategy or whatnot to keep doing it over and over and over again and keeps making them more money. No.
No. Well, it is at least a little better modern days where you DLCs are a thing, so you don't have to buy a completely new game. I mean, you can at least usually transfer to save file when you bought the completely new updated version of the game, but still, completely new game versus DLC.
Yeah. Okay. Enough with the corniness out of here. We're talking about Monster
Yeah.
Hunter Rise Sunbreak. It is, in my opinion, one of the best DLCs ever released for a video game. And I just gotta say, they locked the fuck in and fixed this game. They knew exactly what they were doing. There were no constraints, and I just gotta say, this is where Rise begins.
Oh yeah. No, I love base Rise with all my heart. But majority of the fun you are gonna have from Rise, I think, is definitely within Sunbreak.
Oh, for sure, without a
I
doubt.
mean, it is building off of Rise, but like so many of the new monsters they added were just such amazing fights. Especially like the new trio of like baddies they had. I love the endgame monsters as well. That in the endgame system was much better than base Rise as well. Though that is to be expected because I don't think they ever intended for base Rise's endgame to be as advanced because, you know, they did obviously plan to have a DLC in the first place. God, you can get so much fun out of the game. I could boot the game up right now and have some fun because it is fantastic in all regards.
It really is. So, the thing about Sunbreak is that, unlike base Rise, this was not constricted by COVID, meaning that all of their like plans and visions for the game were fully executed in the DLC. And this is where, in my opinion, like Brewer said, this is where most of the fun's gonna be. The DLC. So if you were playing the game on release, you did have to pay an initial $60 and then another $40 to get the DLC. However, it's worth. Trust.
Yeah. Well, also, I will say for any like new players, like it is heavily discounted. You can usually get both now for like $30 or $20, which is an absolute steal for hundreds of hours of gameplay. That, or when the DLC usually releases for a Monster Hunter game, they usually also discount the base game to entice people to get both and play. Which is it is very worth, because when you buy the DLC for a Monster Hunter game, it's kind of just like you're buying a whole new game, because it's a new campaign with a new cast of characters, usually a new hub, a bunch of new monsters. The only thing that doesn't make it a new game is that it usually just is off the base of another game to keep the same combat and just to increase the difficulty in general. Because the thing with the DLC is that they couldn't just have the DLC story be something that's just like in a base Monster Hunter game, because it would turn way too many people off with how hard it is. So having the base game there and then having like the much harder DLC lets you like crank up the difficulty and make things insane without it like feeling too unfair to the player. You know, it's a gradual increase.
Yeah, no, they balance difficulty very well in this DLC, and we gotta talk about, okay, why would I play this DLC? Well, first things first, they make a lot of combat changes. What combat changes am I talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked, viewer, because Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak introduces the new mechanic of swap scrolls, where, you might remember I mentioned earlier the scroll system where you can choose your moves. Hee. I'm glad you listened, because the scroll system in Sunbreak, you could have 2 scrolls equipped on you now. What does this mean? It means that you could have 2 completely different movesets available for you at any point in the quest, and all you have to do is have your weapon equipped and then press, if let's say you're playing on Switch, you would press the X and A button at the same time. So you could have one moveset that's like geared towards like offense, and then you could switch to the other scroll, which may be geared more towards defense or your personal playstyle. The point is that you as the player are able to choose what scroll is what, and you can switch in between it mid-hunt, which blew my mind, meaning I had so many access to different moves with just one weapon while playing the game, and it just made me so invested with the combat.
Yeah,
Not
because
only
like,
that, but you first.
dude, it's so good because like along with them adding a shit ton of new like Silkbind attacks and just general new moves to the weapons, like if there was something a part of one kit that like I really liked but I wanted both, now I could just like have both. But like, you know, there was still some penalty to like how I used them because like I would still have to swap over, which in the midst of a hunt with a very vicious monster that's gonna drop kick you in half a millisecond, you know, you got a time when you do that shit well. So like it doesn't completely give you too much reign over it, but it gives you just enough to where like you can get really creative. Like I used switch axe and hammer, but like with the switch axe, I had one moveset that was geared towards just like charging up the switch axe, and then another one that was like geared towards just like unleashing all of that energy that I had stored up with the first moveset. So like I got the best of both worlds. I didn't have to settle for just having just half of one and half of the other. I could have both of them. I just had to learn how to effectively swap between them in the middle of a hunt.
Yeah, no. When I played a longsword during my playthrough, I made one of my scrolls centered towards on building up my main gauge, which the longsword has 3 gauges that will increase the damage of the weapon if you hit counters and if you like feel like a certain meter requirement. And the thing is, I geared towards one scroll to help me with the meter build up, and I geared the other scroll to dishing out all of that meter gain for damage. And I just had like a great mix of both of them. And I love that Rise Sunbreak gave us the opportunity to just mix match so much stuff together. And
Oh
it
yeah.
works. Everything works together.
Yeah, and again, if you don't want all that, you could just stay to one swap scroll and then just stick with your one move set. Like, again, you have all these options. None of them are forced onto you, but you know there is a lot of benefit to using them. You know.
Exactly. There's just
Yeah.
the first thing they got right was just knowing how to appeal to the players in terms of their moveset. But the second big thing that I think is the most important thing when it comes to this DLC is that they introduced Master Rank, the third tier difficulty where everything gets cranked up to 11 in terms of difficulty. And I fucking love Master Rank because every previous monster gains new AI and new moves that they can use in their arsenal, meaning that they're not going to be the same as last time. Not only that, but because of the added development time, they I would say about double the roster of the base game.
Yeah, if it is a bit skewed since they did add a lot of variants as well, like over completely new monsters. But still, they added a shit ton of new monsters. Like some of them, I'm like, damn, I even forgot you were in the game because there were so many new monsters in here. Like Sergio's. Like, man, I love you as a fight, but I kind of forgot you were there because there was Ostelos and Gore fucking Magala standing right next to you.
Exactly. And also the DLC gives Capcom a good opportunity to add back old monsters that fans can enjoy. Not only putting them in a new engine, but like they get to test out like new mechanics with the monsters and make new moves for them to account for how powerful the player can be.
Yeah, that and again too with the new setting, they have a chance too to like add monsters that would make sense in this new setting, but maybe not so much in the original setting of the game. Because like again, you start in Kimura and then you go to Elgato, so like now they have like a whole new list of reasons they can make for like why these monsters are showing up. It's like, oh, why is this monster here and not in Kimura? It's like, oh, well, because a certain monster was like driving them to like go on a rampage down in Kimura, but since that monster isn't here in Elgato, you know, that just doesn't happen. So there's always good reasons behind it too. But then also like with it being a new region, there's a lot of like subspecies and variants as well. Because like a different region, monsters evolve and adapt in those regions, and they usually get different move sets or even unlock new elements.
Yeah, it gives the devs such a good opportunity to just expand what was already there and just add more. And it also just makes the fucking roster. Oh my God, there are so many monsters to fight in this game. There are 78 unique large monsters, which are like the bosses of the game, to fight.
So many. Like that's only 22 monsters away from like 100, which like Generations Ultimate had over 100. Which is like the most than the series has ever had. It's like,
Yeah,
damn.
and it's just you first. You first.
Oh no, I was just saying it's like, damn.
Yeah, no, I just think it's crazy how like just how much they put into the game and just what they do with the mechanics that were there to make it even better. But now that we talked about rampages earlier, I want to talk about what replaces rampages in Sunbreak. Yeah, they just because they got rid of one mechanic does not mean they're gonna leave us empty in terms of like mechanical depth. Ooh, no, they added something really cool that I like a lot, and I really am really glad that they're going to be adding something similar back into Monster Hunter Wilds. That being the anomaly fights. Ooh, baby, I love these.
Oh, those are
Bird,
so
would you like to
fun.
explain? Would you like to
Oh
explain
yeah.
the anomaly fights or me?
You could explain them. I was just saying they're so fun, but also so aggravating. But in the good way.
Yeah, exactly.
We're Monster
Uh,
Hunter players. We're masochists. We like getting our ass kicked.
no, literally, we love the difficulty. That's a real statement. But to talk about what the anomaly fights are, first we need to talk about what Malzeno and its deal is in the story. Malzeno uses like these little bug creatures called Quiro, which what they do is they give Malzeno like incredible power, and it's revealed that oh no, Malzeno isn't the perpetrator of all these Quiro. Wow, oh no, there's another monster. But point is, Quiro can infect any monster and power them up for a shit ton of not only like increase their power but also their HP. Oh, things are starting to make sense now. I see. Aha. See, the Quiro get attached to normal monsters, and they make those monsters much, much stronger. And it creates a monster like that not only can one-shot you, but it's going to take a lot longer to kill than normal. And the reason why you want to do anomaly fights is because they give you access to gear that normally just would not be access to you in the base game. So like, what's a good example? Let's say I want to max out my Kuluyaku longsword, but I don't have the materials for it. However, this one anomaly fight with a monster allows me to collect these materials that I need for the weapon. Not only that, but they allow me to augment the weapon past what its prior limits were, which
Oh
I
yeah.
love.
No, the best part about that system is definitely like it makes every single weapon in the game and like almost every armor set too viable in some way, because they make it to where you just have so many ways to customize it. Like for armor sets, like generally more shitty armor has really good chances to get like really good and helpful skills on them, and like even like more defense and decoration slots. But then really high tier armor, if you want to get extra like really broken skills on them, you're gonna have to grind for it, because like they already have broken skills on them, so there's not as high of a chance you're gonna get something crazy on them. So like it kind of balances out those armors once you're at the end of the game to like let you use whatever you want. And same thing for the weapons as well. They let you upgrade them past the point you were already at, and then customize them to like do more regular damage, do more elemental damage, have more affinity if you want a higher crit rate, have higher sharpness if you don't want to sharpen your weapon as much, that, or if you even want a new tier sharpness to do more damage. There's just so many choices. It's so amazing.
It really is, and
'Cause
I gotta give them
we're only
incredible
scratching the
credit too.
surface of it too. Like the
There's
rabbit
so
hole
much
goes
you
deep.
yep. It does go deep, and the thing is that I wasn't kidding when I said they can apply themselves to any monster, and they will power them up. So a monster that you may have said, "Oh, that's a fucking joke," like can't believe how easy that monster was 30 hours ago, now becomes harder than the final boss.
Azoros, the stupid honey bear from the beginning of the game, can one-shot you if you're not being careful.
He's not kidding. That has happened to me multiple times.
Yeah,
I will admit.
it's a humbling experience, you know?
It really is. But it's so sick because they allow us to like replay the game and not replay the game, but fight these monsters that we fought a while ago that we may not need their gear. However, the stuff they give us from the anomaly fights just makes fighting them all the more worth it.
Oh yeah, that into like they have levels as well, and it goes up to like what level 300 something.
Oh yeah, level 300 I think is the max.
Yeah, so like you fight different levels of the monsters because like the higher level, the stronger they are, and just the stronger the gear you can make as well. So like once you beat the game, like again, there's so much replaying value because at that point you have a lot more money and resources, so you can try out a lot of different weapons, new armor sets with a bunch of different crazy skills. The game is just like it is very grindy because getting those skills can take a while, but there's just so much content to the game, you know? And it never gets old. I love the combat so much.
It's so good. It does an excellent job of just making you want to play more because, like you said, the level system does a great job of like making the monsters harder, but also giving you just more rewards. Not only that, but every monster previously becomes relevant due to the anomaly investigations. And I just think it's a great way to make people fight monsters that they would never thought they would need to fight again. It's just such a good system,
Oh yeah, absolutely fantastic system.
and
I
it's just
cannot give it enough praise. Especially another thing they have in the game as well too, like another big end game challenge. You have the anomaly fights, but also for a couple of the special monsters in the game, the Elder Dragons, they have like instead of just a basic anomaly version, they have risen versions, which like they have these like orange frosted tips, and then also they just have crazy cranked up move sets that like I don't know, the developers probably snorted some crack to make and smashed their keyboards while making them because like they are very tough. Like they're fair challenges to take down.
oh yeah, the explanation for Risen Elder Dragons is if you've played World, they are the arc-tempered equivalents, but essentially Elder Dragons are so powerful that the ones that got affected by the Quiro were able to break out of the Quiro's influence, but they still gained a power boost from them. So the idea is that they use the same powers of the Quiro, but because of how strong they are, they have the capability of getting out of their influence. I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, especially because like about all the risen elder dragons also have a bunch of new like nuke attacks as well. So it's like, dang, those little bugs are doing some crazy things.
Exactly, and they like Brewer said, they become great in-game challenges. My favorite part about them is that they give you new armor sets to mess around with.
Yeah, no, that was my like biggest criticism with the Apexes. You didn't get any like new armor sets or weapons. Well, the Risens, you still don't get new weapons. You more so just get the final upgrade to some weapons. But the new armor sets you get though are fair enough of an exchange for that because they are so broken.
I used when we fought the hardest fight in the game, Primordial Malzeno. I used one piece of armor from every risen monster there was because it was that fucking good.
Yeah, I used like I think I only had like one or two pieces of my armor that like weren't the risen versions. Like I think one of them was like Lucent Nargacuga arm braces. Other than that though, it was mostly like risen Teostra gear.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's really fucking good.
Yeah, because I had like super high affinity. Like the way affinity works in the game is like the higher your affinity is, the higher the chance you have to crit is. It goes from 0 to 100. Like majority of the time I would have like 90 affinity, but as long as I was hitting a weak point, which I usually always was because I'm a hammer main, so I always go for the head, I would have over 100 affinity like easily. So
That's
I would always
awesome.
be getting crits. It was insane.
That's how I was for longsword because like my entire build at the end of our play session with Sunbreak was I would poison the monster, get a damage buff for applying poison to the monster, and do critical hit damage from it. It was really sick.
Oh yeah. Again, there's a lot of different ways to play the game, and like me and Guy, when we were making our game plan for how we wanted to fight the strongest monster in the game, Primordial Malzeno, we both had like very different but still both very viable strategies that worked out.
Hey,
Very,
dude,
very different weapons as well.
yeah, you main the hammer, I main the longsword. You're a you're a blunt damage guy. I'm a slice dicey. It, the thing about like Monster Hunter is that like you can just run pretty much anything and it'll work. Like obviously there are builds that are better than others, but like bro said, we were playing so differently, yet it worked and
Yeah,
it was
then we were still
viable.
complementing each other because like my hammer with like the Slugger 3 talisman I had knocked down the monster so many times to like give Guy opportunities to attack. Like it just worked out so good.
No, exactly, and plus like um being like you being generally aggroed towards the monsters and us being like near each other all the time allowed me to just like do my counters to power myself up. It was so sick.
Oh
But
yeah.
I think we need to talk about how the Risens were implemented into the game, being free the update system. So pretty much Monster Hunter is pretty new to this, and I think they're doing a good job of it so far. Of after the game releases, they release monsters in free title updates to where you have to wait a few months or weeks depending on like what they're releasing for the monsters to be released. However, they like sprinkle like new content for you to enjoy, which I'm enjoying a lot. And they did it in World and they did it in Rise as well. So I was really excited to see like what monsters they would add in the post game because they didn't reveal all of them immediately. And some of the monsters that were added were the Risens,
Yeah,
and I
they
think
were
they did an
fantastic additions.
I thought so too. I think they did an excellent job of like establishing like an in-game challenge while also like just sprinkling us more content as the game went on. Because I'm gonna
Yeah.
be real, I don't think the game would be as investing if I didn't have like that extra challenge in the end from the updates.
Oh yeah, definitely. I will say I do have a couple of complaints with Sunbreak. Like Sunbreak's updates weren't nearly as bad as fucking base rises, where like I got a slightly changed version from a copy and pasted version of Generations Ultimate's monsters. Like the content they added was good, but like there still were long content droughts, and then the only thing they announced after a while is like, hey guys, here's a two variants on a couple of monsters. Also, they're both fire variants because everything is a fire variant in Sunbreak because the word sun is funny. And then
Yeah, that was a bit of.
if you were lucky, maybe they would add a new monster.
I was really disappointed in that actually, like, because I wanted more variation in terms of like elements that were being used, but unfortunately we did get that. But I mean, dude, I don't really fucking care because those fights were fun anyway. So as long as I'm having fun, I'm happy. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
they were fun. It's just like I know how creative the Monster Hunter team can get, especially with a lot of their subspecies and variants. So like them having just so many like fire variants, and them the like updates being so spaced out as well, definitely did not help things. I was like, man, you got anything more? You got a new endgame monster? Like some of the updates they did for endgame monsters were really good. Like Amatsu was absolutely fantastic. Like I've mentioned before, like it's a monster we haven't seen in a long time. It was good to see in HD. That and it was a fun, challenging fight. But like also, it feels like there's still like even with it not being as affected as base rise, I feel like there were strands of it being affected by COVID. That and probably them wanting to focus on wilds, so they were probably just trying to wrap up rise at that point. Because like Velkhana, the elder dragon that was added in the DLC that came from World. Well, it was in World's DLC and it was added into Rise's DLC. In the files, it was hinted at having a risen version. Like it's one of the few big elder dragons that didn't have it, and like we just never got it for some reason. Probably just because they put resources into Primordial Malzeno, which I did really love that fight, but also it would have been really cool if we had saw like Elatrion or Fatalis again, or one of the Fatalis versions. I don't know. It's weird. Still fantastic game. Like these are minor gripes overall for a like fantastic video game. But it's like it's still there, and I hope it's not a problem in Wilds when it releases.
Yeah, I hope so too, because the thing about Rise is that it's the side game of the series. So like it's not gonna have as much effort or budget put into it as compared to World or Wilds.
I don't know if I'd consider it a side game. Like, it does definitely have aspects of like the portable games. Well, I mean, it was on the portable system, but like
Until it got ported
a lot,
into
it
all
does
the
have a
other
lot of
main
the
systems.
arcadey elements, which I do feel like is due to in fact of it was a Switch exclusive originally, so like they couldn't have like the high detailed areas of world. They had to make like the smaller. I feel like is like still kind of an ecosystem, but it felt more like an arena of Rise. You know, you could explore around it, but it felt more tailored to just throwing down with the monster instead of like the monster is like a part of the habitat. Which I feel like it's something they're trying to go more back to in Wilds right now. Either way, I still feel like it's a mainline game. It's just it was structured very differently.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah,
I
because
like
I think a lot of this has to do with like Capcom has released on Nintendo consoles for a long time. When they wanted to release World, the biggest graphical leap Monster Hunter has ever had, bringing the game into full HD on like very powerful consoles instead of Nintendo handhelds. Like, it was very successful for them, but they still had a very big market that they wanted to target on Nintendo systems, especially the Nintendo Switch with how successful it is. Because again, Rise is a exclusive. It did get ported later on, but it's the second best-selling game in the series, so like goddamn. And second best-selling Capcom game of all time, so goddamn.
yeah,
So
no,
like I feel like they had to make cuts to make it work on a portable system, especially one as old as the Switch. But they still made it a mainline game, I feel like.
Yeah, and by what I mean side game, I don't mean to like discredit the game whatsoever. It just means that like it doesn't have like the main gen focus, or like it's not where most of like Capcom is expecting its players, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. I still feel like it's leaning more into another one of their mainline games because they've had some differences with like the portable series. But that's a discussion for another day with Monster Hunter's history.
No, exactly. But all this talk about Monster Hunter, and I think we need to talk about the last one because that's a unique story for us to tell. Ooh,
Ooh, yeah. You want to get
I
into it?
yeah, let's do it. I am talking about Primordial Malzeno, one of the best boss fights I have ever experienced in a video game. And the reason why I just want to dedicate a little section to this one is because this monster was intentionally not going to be put into Rise Sunbreak. It was going to be originally Amatsu, and then that was it. But they decided we're going to do one more monster, and we're going to go fucking all out for it. So the idea is that it is a Malzeno that isn't corrupted by the Quero at this point. And the difference between this is that Malzeno is actually the only monster where it doesn't get stronger from the Quero initially. And
Initially,
I
though.
love Mal. So what?
Initially, though, is the key word.
Initially, yes. Keyword there. The subtle foreshadowing. Primordial Malzeno, the idea is that Malzeno was kind of like a sneaky fighter, and like, I mean, hell, it's based off a vampire. It's not meant to be honorable. Meanwhile, Primordial Malzeno is a monster that is a knight.
Damn,
It
not
uses its
honorable.
wings in
Alucard would be disappointed in you, guy.
Jesus.
Well, I guess he is half human, so that's kind of cheating.
Jesus. But getting back to my point, he uses his wings as a sword and shield and fights like a knight to protect his land. And I think that's so sick. Um, because this is what a Malzeno looks like before the transformation. However, mid-fight, the Quiro discover him, and they force a bond upon him, and so you get a Malzeno that fights very, very cleverly, like a knight, but has the power boost of the Quiro, and it absolutely fucking wrecks the players. Oh my god, me and Brewer, that was the monster I think we've had the most failed attempts on, like when trying to fight
Probably.
it.
I mean, we didn't do terribly on it. I don't think it was as bad as your Fatalis attempts, but like whenever I wasn't playing with you, I would hop online with some randoms. I'd be like, "Hey guys, let's have some fun," and then 5 minutes in, and somebody's already triple carded. Not me, thank God, but somebody's triple carded.
Yeah, no, they put a lot into this monster. Like
Yeah, because it's
they
so
one
fast. There's a lot of times if you use your counters against it that they put into the game, you're still gonna get hit because it has a lot of multi hits. So like, you can't just spam a counter for its fast attacks. You have to like step back, look at what attacks is gonna do, and decide: is this the right moment to do to counter? Is this gonna be the last hit, or should I even try to counter this attack? If will I even be in range? Because it has really long reach too. Like it can reach you from like halfway across the fucking map sometimes. Not to mention it in later phases will teleport. So yeah, it
yeah,
can
no,
get you from anywhere.
that's no lie. It is a hard fight. But God, was it one to end the game off of? Because I was so satisfied with like what we had already with the game, but then they just gave us like this final little package to like conclude the game off. And I'm so glad they did this because they put everything they've learned from monster design and the weapon design into this monster to make sure that people remembered this fight. It's like
Yeah.
Fatalis in Monster Hunter World in terms of like equivalence of like tiers status.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in terms of difficulty, because like I was a little hesitant going into it as like really your last monster is just a variant on a monster we already have, but they made it like it is a much different variant than any of the other ones we have, even compared to like Deviants and Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which are very different. This felt like just a completely different fight in some aspects, with just like echoes of the original fight. Because the monster itself, like along with it physically being different, like I saying, it was much more clever. It felt like it had a different mind. It had a different way of thinking to fight the hunters. It didn't always have to rely on its cheap tricks. It relied on just like honor. It was Zuko. We fought Zuko.
Zuko!
I want to
So
imagine
true.
Fatalis was teaching it how to be an endgame monster. It is like, you must fight with Anna, Prince Zuko.
But yeah, no, it's just like I really want. I love this monster a lot, and it's fights like that that make me play Monster Hunter and make me want to go back for more because it always throws a curveball at me and it's always keeping me on edge. But I feel rewarded for everything that I'm doing. Not only that, but his gear is really fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
I'm fucking hoping it's good. I mean, considering it's the last fight in the game, you
Yeah,
know?
it is kind of funny in Monster Hunter when like the strongest monster in the game has like the shittiest gear that are like the most gimmicky gear.
Oh yeah, because thankfully it's not too gimmicky, but like, dude, I hate gimmick gear so much that's like that just only benefits like one weapon. It sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I think Gog Mazios had that problem in 4 Ultimate where like its gear and weapons were really cool, but maybe I don't want to use them. I mean, some of it was good. I think it's Charge Blade as well, but not all of it. Not all of it.
I get you.
Man, what a game though. I think with that though, we're starting to get to that closing point. Do you think, Guy?
I think we are. I mean, we talked about the final threat of the game, so I think we are getting to that point. And God, I'm so glad we got to talk about this game a little bit. Like, kind of going into my closing argument about this. There's still so much we can talk about in terms of this game. We didn't even scratch the surface with what you can do. We didn't even mention wyvern mounting in this, which is one of the main mechanics of the game.
Yeah, we
There's
mentioned it
so
like a
much.
slight little bit, but no, I think we pass on it. It's fine, especially because it's definitely not ever really returning for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think it's returning either. But like
Maybe
the
for the
point,
better.
yeah, probably for the better. I have mixed opinions on it, but point is, Monster Hunter just knows how. It's another win. like they know what they're doing at Capcom, and I'm just so glad that many people got to play Rise because though I will say this game had a very rough start, this game made its redemption and made its redemption very well. And I gotta give it credit where it's deserved because a game like this only comes like once every like 10 years in terms of like quality and
Yeah.
replayability.
Yeah, it's a game that had a comeback story. At the same time, though, it's not like other games where it's like, damn, this was really shit at the beginning. Like, it was still great at the beginning. It was just a comeback to be like, instead of just great, to be amazing.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, you go on,
And
Brewer. Go on with your points, my brother,
yeah,
my fellow hunter.
my fellow hunting brother. Yeah, my final points are going to be similar to what I've said all along. Rise and Sunbreak are both fantastic games. Well, fantastic game and DLC. As someone who did play them when they released, they did definitely have issues that I think were to do with them being developed during COVID. That and even the games as they are now, fully patched and finished, those issues are still, I think, there's still remnants of it in there being unfinished, just because some of the stuff does feel kind of unnatural in the game with the progression, especially with that final boss at the beginning of the base game. And I do have some issues as well with just like some of the variants they added in Sunbreak as well. Like, again, I know Monster Hunter Team can get really creative with subspecies, so when I saw like 20 different fire variants, I was like, come on guys, you can do better than this. But beyond a couple of those complaints and just a couple of the systems, controversial systems and games, these are fantastic video games. You can get so much playtime out of them. The combat is fantastic. The monsters, as always with any Monster Hunter game, are amazing. I love their designs. I love buying marketable plushies of them. And then I also love just the fights as well, with how brutal some of them can be. That or how even goofy some of them can be as well. That and the music too. We didn't really scratch upon that, but I really like the music for this game as well, because the Monster Hunter Team always goes very hard for the fights, especially the Kizu fight.
Okay, if y'all don't know, Kezu has one of the best themes in any video game, and you've probably listened to it before in some like montage video, but just look up Kezu theme and you guys will thank us.
Yeah, again, Khezu, and then just theme. Look it up. You will not be disappointed.
It's so peak.
It's so peak. But I think with that, maybe you guys should rise to the challenge and smash that like button with a great sword.
Maybe leave a comment down below and tell us what your favorite moment in Monster Hunter Rise was.
And then maybe subscribe if you just enjoy content like this and you want to see more Monster Hunter.
We will be doing it in the future. Hint, hint. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching our episode on Monster Hunter Rise. I know this was a giant Glay session, but it's a Glay session for a reason. With that being said, happy hunting, fellow hunters, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!